And making sure the volume's up. Okay.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We're really excited to be kicking off 2019 back at the Bimini Sharklab. My name is Jillian Morris. I'm the founder of Sharks4Kids, and we've been regularly partnering with this facility for quite a few years, and we're excited to have you here today for our Shark Science Hangout. So I'm going to go ahead and let the team introduce themselves, and then we'll actually meet our classrooms that are joining us online today.
Hi guys, my name is Chessie. I'm the Outreach Coordinator at Bimini Sharklab. So my job here is to talk to the public on public tours, to invite guests to come join us and do some shark science with us at the lab here. And I'm really excited to be talking to you guys today and showing you some live shark science in action.
Cool. Hey guys, I'm Sarah and I'm one of the volunteers here at the Shark Lab, and I've been here for a couple months. I'm going to be here for a few more, and I'm really excited to share this shark with you guys, and hopefully you guys can learn some new things about sharks you didn't know before.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm, like Sarah, a volunteer here. I've been here also for a couple months, and I'll be here for a couple more months. And like they said, we're excited to share the shark with you.
Awesome. All right. So just a little bit of information about where we're at. Actually, we'll introduce our classrooms, and then we'll talk a little bit about where we are and introduce our special guests. So we have Mrs. Carberry's grade 2. Can you say hello? Hello. Thank you, guys. All right, and we have Mrs. Crahan's grade 2.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, and we have Mrs. Ladd's grade 2. Hi. And Mrs. Roop's grade 5. Hi. And finishing off with Mrs. Moore's grade 1.
Bobbitt's.
Oh, okay, it says more. Okay, Mrs. Bobbitt's grade 1.
Go ahead, say hi.
Hi.
Hi. All right. Well, thank you so much. We're excited that you guys are here, and we look forward to answering some of your questions. So we're on the island of Bimini. It's about 50 miles from Florida, and the Shark Lab was created in 1990, and it was created by Doc Gruber as a base for his research on lemon sharks. We're really lucky that here in Bimini we see lemon sharks from birth all the way up through adulthood, as well as lots of other species of shark. So if you've watched documentaries about sharks or Shark Week, you've probably seen the Shark Lab on TV. It's done some really groundbreaking work as far as what we know about sharks, from their personalities to their habitat use, growth rates, even how old they can be. So a lot of really incredible science here. And we'll talk a little bit more at the end about how you can find out more about the lab or even come visit the lab if you're interested. And today we do have a special guest. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. The whole idea today is to learn a little bit about shark science. So what the lab does is, as we mentioned, they study sharks. So I'm just going to move the camera a little bit closer so you guys can kind of see our little friend. All right. And you might first notice that it doesn't look necessarily like what you think a shark is supposed to look like. Right? And this is actually a nurse shark. And nurse sharks are sharks, even though they don't have that same sort of shape you might think of. We're going to talk a little bit about the anatomy of this one. And out behind the lab, on the beach, there's a pen, and you can think of cows or horses in a field with a pasture with fence. So the sharks are there. They'll stay for about 30 days or less. They're released in the same spot they were caught, and they're here so that people can come visit the lab. They can see these animals, learn a little bit, but also so the volunteers can learn how to safely handle the sharks when they're doing the scientific workup and tagging, which is what we're going to show you today. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what makes this shark unique, the anatomy of a shark in general, some of the equipment that's used to study sharks, why we use it, and once a scientist catches a shark, whether it's here in Bimini or it's South Africa or it's Australia, what data do they collect? What information do they collect from each animal to help us learn more about them? So we're going to go through that process and show you kind of what real shark science looks like in action. So we're going to get started with anatomy of this particular shark.
All right, everyone. I'm going to be telling you, like Jillian said, about the anatomy of the nurse shark. We're going to kind of adjust the camera so you can actually.
Yeah. Do we have a chair? Let's see, I'll just jab this. Better.
All right. So first thing we're going to look at with the anatomy is kind of how the body tells us more about the shark's habitat, what they might eat, and where they might live. So the first thing you're going to notice is that this shark has got a really flat head. And if I show you closely, these little protrusions sticking out from the mouth, right? So those protrusions are called barbels, and they're actually kind of like little tasters that help the shark figure out where its food is. I'm going to show you again the mouth. You can look closely, right? And that shark is kind of different from what you think of when you think of a shark's mouth, right? So normally you think of a shark's mouth having really sharp, pointy teeth. This shark actually uses its grinding plates to eat things like crustaceans, which are like lobsters and crab and conch that it finds on the ocean floor. Right, I'm gonna lift up the shark again and show you its eyes, right? So it's got really little eyes that are color, and they're pretty wide set as well. So that tells you about the shark, that it doesn't really need to use its vision that much, and that it's mostly a nocturnal feeder. So that means that it tends to look for its food and eat its food at night. And from that, we can gather that this shark likes to live underneath ledges, right? So it uses its flat head to kind of poke underneath ledges. It doesn't really need to see, it's kind of dark underneath the ledges, and it uses those barbels to feed around and feel around for its food that it crushes up using those grinding plates. Okay, next we're gonna look at the fins that this shark has. So first thing you're gonna notice are these pectoral fins, right? Next are the pelvic fins down here. This little fin up here is called an anal fin, and then it's got two dorsal fins. 1, 2. You're gonna let it breathe a little bit, and then I'll show you its last fin, which is the caudal fin. So nurse sharks, unlike other sharks, have only one upper lobe of the caudal fin. Most sharks have a forked tail, right? And they've got an upper lobe and then a lower lobe. And that's called a big word called heterocercal tail. So as you can see on this nurse shark, it's just got one upper lobe, right? And that's because this shark doesn't really need to move around a lot. It kind of just hangs out underneath ledges, looks around for food at nighttime. It doesn't really need to swim super fast like some other sharks that you think of, like a white shark or a thresher shark that swims around in the ocean a lot. This one kind of hangs out on the bottom of the ocean, and that's where it looks for food. All right, I've been telling you that this is a guy shark, right? This is a male shark, but how do I know that, right? I'll show you. So sharks are actually really easy to set because if you look up here, and in between these pelvic fins, right, you can see these little protrusions. They're really small. So that tells us when they have those two protrusions called claspers that it's going to be a male. So if it were a female, it wouldn't have those protrusions. And that's how we know that it is a male shark. All right. So we talked about this shark living underneath ledges, but if it's sticking underneath ledges, right, it might get kind of scratched. You know, ledges are pretty sharp. They might have some rocks under there that it's hanging out by. So it's really important for these sharks that they have really tough skin. So their skin is actually called dermal denticles, which translates to to skin teeth. So that means that its skin, if you feel it one way, so if we go from the nose to the back of the shark, right, it's kind of smooth. But if you do it the other way, it's kind of rough. And that helps not only keep the shark protected from living underneath those ledges, but it also helps to create a streamlined swimming motion by pushing the water backwards. All right. Yeah.
Right. So, guys, now that we've seen a little bit of the anatomy, we're going to talk a bit about some of the research that's actually done. And in order to study sharks, scientists ask different questions. And think about technology. Your phone now can do not just phone calls anymore. It does videos. You can make Skype calls. You can do all sorts of games and things. And think of that technology has changed. So technology has also changed in the way that we're able to study sharks. So here at the lab and throughout the world, there's different type of tags. And you may have heard people talk about shark tagging. I have no idea what that means. But what it actually means is to sort of give that shark a specific identity. Each animal is unique, but if scientists are catching thousands of sharks, you can't remember all of them. And also, say one is caught here and tagged, maybe another scientist or somebody else might catch it in a new location. So it's a way to keep track of that. It's a way to kind of connect with other scientists to see where are these sharks going, because not all of them stay here in the Bahamas. Right? So one of the tags that every shark here in Bimini actually gets is called a pit tag, and it's really, really tiny. And you might have a cat or dog at home that's microchipped, or if you've had your parents talk about that. So at the vet or Humane Society, a tiny little chip was put in, right? You can see it's really small. It's about the size of a grain of rice, and this is what your cat or dog has inside of them. And it's injected just under the dorsal fin, those top fins you saw on the shark. So it goes just underneath, and this will stay in the shark for anywhere from 10 to 20 years, depending on the brand. And we use a special scanner, just like if your cat or dog is lost, the vet or the Humane Society will scan, right? And it looks like this. There's a button, right? And when we do the workup, we'll scan our shark and see if it's actually been tagged and if a number comes up. So when the lab catches a shark, they're going to use that scanner and see, oh, has it been tagged before? If it has, great. Look through the data books, can see, is that shark caught last month, last year, 10 years ago? Also take new measurements again to see if it's grown. So it's a very basic tag. You can kind of think of it like a barcode for a shark. So items at the store, those little black and white codes by the register, and it tells you the price. But we're not trying to find out how much the shark is, or we're not trying to find lost sharks, like your pet might get lost, but we're actually just trying to give each animal its own name tag, if you will. Other tags are a little bit bigger, and they can go on the outside. This is a dart tag or a KC tag, and this actually goes just under the dorsal fin, and you can see here, there's actually a number, right? So inside there's a little piece of paper with the information, and all the data about the shark is recorded that you'll see during the workup. And this stays on the outside of the shark. So it's really just a little way, you have to catch the shark again, or we have to see it again to learn something new. So did it move? Did it grow? But these are pretty inexpensive ways for us to be able to give each shark an identity. Now, I mentioned earlier that tags are changing as technology is changing. So one of the tags that you can use, these are called acoustic tags. So this can go on or in the shark. And it's acoustic because it makes a noise, like a ringtone on a phone. Each tag has a unique ringtone. And there's special receivers that are put underwater, and they have them all around Bimini, all up the coast of Florida. And anytime a shark or a tuna or a turtle wearing one of these tags swims by that receiver, it records the time, the date, the water temperature, and that animal. It's really interesting to see which animals are staying in the same area, if they're hanging out with friends, if they come to that spot at a certain time every single day, like maybe they come to lunch every day at 12 o'clock. And we can actually learn this using these acoustic tags. Those receivers, we can also use a special thing called a hydrophone. And if they're little sharks and they're in sort of a shallow, kind of confined area, we can actually track them with the hydrophone and watch their movements over 24 or even 48 hours. Where do they go? Where do they spend their time? It's really helping us have a better idea of what the life of each shark is like. Now, the final tag is pretty fancy. You can't see because it's got a special paint on it so that it doesn't get algae on it. But this is actually put on the fin of the shark. It's called a spot tag. And there's, believe it or not, inside this, there's a mini computer and there's batteries that charge this. And this is an antenna. And it's on the dorsal fin of the shark. And when the fin sticks up out of the water, there's a little sensor that you see right here. When it touches the air, it actually transmits a GPS location of that shark. So think about if your parents have, or your cousin, or your friend has a phone, you can see where you are or get directions. It's the same thing. You can see where the shark is going. And we do this because we want to know where they're migrating. Right? Where are they traveling to if they don't stay here? And then we can say, well, why are they going to that spot? Why are they going to that spot every January? Or why are they leaving that spot every March? And we can start to understand their movement patterns, and really why they do it. And all of this technology, all of these tags are really helping us learn more about the sharks so that we can actually put better protection in place. The Bahamas is a shark sanctuary. So it's illegal to catch and kill sharks here, but they don't just always stay here. So if we can see where they're going and know that maybe that's another area that's really important for breeding, for birth, it's a nursery habitat, then we can look to try and get those areas protected as well. We'll have to have these kind of tools to be able to do that. And now you're going to see the other data that's collected once a shark is caught, and go through and see why we're collecting that data and actually how scientists do it.
Hey guys, so I'm Sarah, and I'm gonna kind of walk you through a workup that we do here at the lab. So we've got this measuring trough. We'll fill it up with water, and we'll put the shark in. And if you can kind of tell, there's a little measuring tape that's just stuck to the bottom, and that's how we will measure the lengths of the shark. So, yeah.
Just filling it up with water now. So the shark can swim and still breathe in the trough. And then I'm going to pick up the shark and Sarah's going to lead you through the workup.
So the first thing that we do when we catch the shark and bring it back to our pen, and then later we'll do the workup, is we want to check to see if it has that pit tag, so that identification number that Jillian was talking to you about. So that is located underneath its first dorsal, either on this side or this side. So we'll take the pit tag scanner, turn it on, wait till it does a little bit, and then hold down the button. And there we go. So this guy has a number, and that's our shark. So what we do is we also write everything down in this book. So we'll write down different things like the pit tag number so that we know that this is this guy and we can compare the data later. So once we've done that, what we'll usually do is we'll take a little tiny thin clip from him, or I guess I can do measurements first. So we have this little tiny tweezer that we'll use, and we'll take different measurements of the shark. So each shark has this little notch right before their caudal tail. There it is. So we'll see that and do the pre-caudal notch length. See, it's about 44.9 centimeters. Okay? And then some sharks, other than nurse sharks, have that forked tail. And then that's when we'll do the fork length as well. But nurse sharks don't have that, so we'll just go to its total length, which is about 61 centimeters. Cool. So he's a pretty good size for a juvenile nurse shark. After that, we'll take girth measurements. So girth is how big around he is. So what we'll do is our first one is going to be underneath the pectoral fins. So he kind of has little armpits. So we'll lift him up, take the measuring tape, kind of wedge it up underneath his armpits, look at it, pinch it, pull it out, and then we'll read about it's 23 centimeters. Pretty good size. The next one is underneath the first dorsal fin. So do that again. And they also have a little kind of armpit underneath their dorsal fin. Pinch it, pull it out. It reads about 11.5 centimeters. And then our little pre-caudal notch, go a little bit, pinch it. And that one's about 7 centimeters. So still a baby shark. Next what we'll do is we'll get a little fin clip. So it's just like when you get your fingernails trimmed, but it can tell us a lot about the shark. So we'll use the fin clip. Okay. So we'll just do like a little boop, boop, just so the size of a triangle, a little small triangle, smaller than the size of your pinky nail. And that we will use for DNA and isotopes. So the DNA can tell us kind of about the shark and what it's made up of. The isotope
can tell us what it eats. So that's really cool, and we can create kind of food web of what the shark eats and things like that. Next, what we will do is we will take a little muscle sample, a very small scoop of its muscle, and that can also tell us about its diet. Yeah, we'll do it usually on the other side of where like the pit tag is, because we don't want to accidentally get the pit tag. And then we will get blood from it, which can also tell us about its diet more recently.
So we take blood from just underneath the tail, just where she took that precaudal length measurement. It's just on the underneath. So we have to put the tonic in something called the shark in something called tonic immobility. That's when we turn the shark over, so it's lying with its belly upwards, and it's kind of like a relaxed state. If you guys have ever seen sheep upside down or chickens, it's exactly the same. They're just chilling out for a little bit, and so they're nice and calm, so we can take that blood sample very, very quickly from the shark. We're actually going to pop the little shark down so we can have a little swim, and that is the basis of a shark workup. Obviously, Jillian spoke about, sometimes there are additional tags that we put on these sharks. Now this guy's pretty small, we're not going to put a big tag on its dorsal fin for this guy, but if we got a big shark like a tiger shark or a lemon shark or something like that, and we wanted to put out one of those tags, we put that on the dorsal fin of the shark. So each workup has these basic, as you've seen, this basic protocol. It just changes slightly depending on which tags we want to deploy on those sharks.
Ooh. Oh, right. So before we kind of a wrap up, guys, this is done also in the wild, out on a boat. So if the shark's in a small tub like this, it's easy, but say it was a large tiger shark. The shark's brought right next to the boat to make it easy to handle the animal. And you may have noticed as well, the shark is resting on the bottom. We've showed you a couple times. They can buccal pump. So this shark doesn't have to swim to breathe. Things like great whites or great hammerheads have to move forward to have the water come in their mouth and over their gills. But nurse sharks can actually kind of pump the water in, so they're able to rest on the bottom. If we're working with an animal that has to swim, the boat might stay in gear and kind of move forward, allowing them to breathe. So everything from even catching the shark to the entire workup is done really quickly. Everyone practices so that they know exactly what they need to do at what time, because you don't want to keep the animal for long, especially if you've caught it. You want to let it go on its way very quickly. So everybody practices to know exactly what they're doing, so that you don't have to keep the animal for more than anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on the type of tag you're putting in. You really want to get that animal going. And then it's really interesting to see what you find out from those tags. All right, so we're going to go through our classes now. We'll start out with 2 questions each. So if we call in your class, if you want to go ahead, come up and do your questions. So let's start with Mrs. Parbury's grade 2. If you guys have a couple of questions for us.
Hey, Lauren, you want to ask your question?
How many sharks are left in the world?
So there are still millions and millions. There's over 500 different species of sharks, but their numbers are going down. So humans are killing about 100 million sharks every single year, which means there are far more than that, and that's mean are dying. Very number. And today, you guys learning about sharks and joining us for a little bit, you're actually share some facts and maybe even quiz your friends about some of the things that you learned and try to spread a message. So there's so many things sharks, but we don't do things to protect them. Those numbers are going to be falling down. Great question. You guys have another one?
Hey, Nicholas, big voice.
Why are sharks' jaws different and why do they eat different?
Why are sharks' jaws different, and then what was the second part?
Why do they eat different things?
Yeah, so sharks do eat different things. So we spoke about how this guy has plates at the back, but you might have heard about a tiger shark. So a tiger shark actually has completely different shaped teeth to what this guy has. And that is purely because of what they eat. So tiger sharks eat stuff like turtles. And you can imagine how hard a turtle shell is. To get into a turtle, what they have to do is they have to open their saw through that shell. So you can imagine their teeth shape. They're like little serrated saws to the side to be able to kind of eat that they eat. So every single species of shark has slightly different. So it's pretty cool. And what we know is sharks have a cartilaginous skeleton. They don't kind of leave behind bones in fossils. But what we have been able to see is these fossil records of some of these teeth. I'm sure you guys have heard that people pick up teeth on the bottom of the seabeds and everything like that. So we can really study some of these sharks and some of these prehistoric sharks as well through them as fossils.
All right, well, thank you guys. Hopefully we should have time to get back around again, but we're going to go on to Mrs. Trahan's class.
Okay. Go ahead. Say your name.
Hi, I'm Casey.
Loud.
Hi, I'm Casey, and I was wondering how many bones do sharks have?
Right there.
So sharks actually don't have any bones. They're made up of cartilage. So the same thing that's kind of right here on your nose or up here on your ear is what they're made out of. So their skeleton, unlike ours, is actually made up of cartilage. And that actually makes them really heavy in the water because cartilage weighs a little bit more than bone does. So they have a lot of adaptations to help them stay buoyant or stay up in the water column so they don't just sink to the bottom. So some of those things include a really giant liver that's super fatty because oil, like you might see if you put olive oil on top of water, floats to the surface. So that helps them actually stay up in the water column. And like we talked about with their tail being forked and heterocircle, so the top part of the tail is longer than the bottom part, also helps them to stay up in the water column.
Great question. You guys have another one?
Real loud.
Hi, I'm Sam.
Ask your question.
And how fast do sharks swim?
Well, it really depends on the shark. So this nurse shark doesn't spend a lot of time really darting after its food. Its food's kind of pretty slow. Lobster, conch are a big snail, so they're not moving fast at all. So it doesn't really have to go fast to catch its food. But you think of things like great whites and makos that are chasing down really big fish or really fast seals that are maneuvering. So the Shortfin Mako is actually the fastest species of shark, and they've been clocked anywhere from between 45 to about 60 miles per hour. So next time you're in a car with someone, look at the speedometer and look. And when you're going in that range, you can think of how fast that actually is for an animal moving through the water. So from very slow, a few miles per hour, bursts of speed 5 to 10, but then you have the Mako shark that's really, really sprinting. They're fast. Great questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Mrs. Ladd's class, do you have some questions for us?
All right, Ziva, go ahead. Ask your question. Yeah.
I'm Ziva, and I want to know what's the biggest shark you've caught?
Oh, that's a great question. The biggest shark we caught at the lab was actually a tiger shark, and I think it was 97 We use centimeters to measure.
Yeah, so you guys, if you think about, so nearly 4 meters, so it's over 13 feet long, so probably close to about 14, just over, we use meters as scientists because all around the world, most people use the metric system, so it's much easier to translate our data from one country to another, like we're in the Bahamas and it's the US, and everyone uses that. It keeps our data standardized, so one sort of kind of number to be working. But that's a great question. You guys have another one?
Up here. Look at the eyeballs. Okay, that's your question.
How many layers of teeth do sharks have?
So how many layers of teeth do sharks have? That was his question.
Odd. Most sharks have between 5 and 15 rows of teeth. Now, if you count your teeth and you kind of went 1, 2, 3, 4, you would count along, but you think you have 1 row of teeth, right? Like you just have 1 row. All right, but when we count with sharks, we actually count each of those as a row because behind your 1 tooth, imagine if you had another one and another one and another one kind of lined up. And when one falls out, it's kind of like a conveyor belt at the grocery store. Another one moves forward. So some sharks can have 50 to several hundred teeth in their mouth at a time, and they're constantly losing them over the course of their life. So you guys can see here on this jaw, we're saying the rows. Right? So yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of teeth. All right, let me see. You can see there's this front row.
There's teeth.
But tucked down all in behind. These ones are all ready, right? So when it comes forward and that one in the front falls out, all right? So kind of see that. When that one falls out, another one is ready to move and take its place. So lots of teeth, really important, because if you think about it, sharks don't actually have hands or tools or fishing poles to grab their food and their teeth. And they come. They're not attached the way ours are. So if they lost all their teeth, they get in trouble. They can have a way to grab their food. So it's really important that they constantly grab their life. Great question. All right, we're going to go to Mrs. Roop's class. Do you have a couple of questions for us?
Hi, my name is Taylor, and I was wondering, what's the farthest that you've tracked a shark?
Oh, great question. And well, we've actually caught some tiger sharks over here that have gone all the way up, to kind of the Carolinas, all the way up Virginia. We've even had a hammerhead shark that's kind of been caught in, I think it was Charlottesville, so it's pretty far up north. And I know there was one tiger shark recently that was tagged in the Bahamas that even went up to Canada. So if you think about how long that migration all the way up is, they can be pretty far. Really great question.
You guys have another one for us?
Hi, my name is Gunnar, and what
What
happens if you find an injured shark?
What happens if you find an injured shark?
Yeah.
Sharks. We talked about the pen that has the little sharks in it. They found sharks before that had an injury. Sharks heal incredibly fast. Think about it. If you cut your finger and you stuck it in water every day, it wouldn't heal. Right? But sharks heal really, really quickly. Even when we insert those tags, sometimes we use stitches, and within a week, you're going to see that opening, closing up, and starting to stick. So they heal really quickly. So sometimes if it's an injured shark, it can be held. If it was a big shark, don't really have a place to hold it. But if it's tangled in something, sometimes you can remove a hook or line or try and help them that way. But with smaller sharks, the lab often does have little guys that come in with injuries, and they can kind of hang out. They don't have to worry about predators or trying to find their food. They do get fed. So it's a good place for them to sort of rest up and heal up.
Really great question.
Great. All right. And Mrs. Bobbitt's class, do you have a couple questions for us?
Do great white sharks eat tigerfish?
Real loud, Patricia.
Do great white sharks eat tigerfish?
Are you meaning
Do
like
Tiger shark.
Great.
Do great white sharks eat tiger sharks?
They could. They're not oftentimes, I mean, when great whites migrate down by Florida, they could find tiger sharks in the same area as them if the tiger shark was smaller. But a lot of times, great whites are looking for mammals, so something with a lot of fat and blubber, like seals and sea lions. When they're smaller, they will look for fish as a food source. But primarily, when you get larger, they want something with, think about, like, you're really hungry, you're probably not just going to eat a piece of lettuce, right? You're going to want like a big sandwich. And so think of those seals and sea lions as a really big sandwich for a shark that's hungry, with lots of energy and lots of calories to help them keep being able to swim and do all the things they need to do to survive. Question.
Real loud.
What oceans are you in?
What ocean are we in? So we're in the Bahamas, the Caribbean Sea, we're near the North Atlantic. So we're in the Atlantic Sea over here. So we're not we're on the side off the coast of Florida. So it's a really great place for lots of different species of sharks. We're right by the Gulf Stream. So that Gulf Stream brings in tons of migratory sharks, the Bimini and it brings tons of nutrients, tons of big fish. So we're in a perfect spot really to have a shark do research on some of these different species.
Thank you.
Guys want to do one more and we'll work our way back through because we have time for one more from each class. So if you guys want to have one more question. Barry signed off. All right, well, we'll start. We'll go back to Mrs. Carberry's class. Do you want to finish with one last question?
Ella, big voice.
How far can sharks swim in the water?
How far can sharks swim in the water?
Well, it depends on the species of shark. So as we said before, this nurse shark doesn't really swim very far. It likes to chill out at the bottom. So it does depend on the species of shark. There's two kind of different sharks. There's one kind of group of sharks that are called pelagic sharks. They're more migratory sharks. They like to swim long distances, kind of out into the middle of the sea, and looking for kind of fast-moving prey and fish. So that's stuff like tiger sharks, mako sharks, freshers, all of those kind of sharks. And then there are sharks like the nurse shark, as well as other species that kind of stay in kind of close to a reef, like a reef shark or something like that. They don't kind of reef sharks. So it does depend on the species you're talking about.
Great question. Thank you guys so much. All right, Mrs. Crahan, do you have one more for us?
Introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Madeline, and how long do sharks live?
So, go ahead. So it depends on the shark. So a lot of the species we have here, about 25 to 40 years. Research done by the lab actually just figured out that lemon sharks live longer than it was believed, anywhere from about 37 to 40 years, possibly longer, but we know they live at least that long. Great whites, it's about 50 to 75 years. And then you have this thing called the Greenland shark, which can live over 400 years, right? Which is pretty remarkable. So it really depends. Again, you've heard us say this a lot. It depends on the type of shark. They're all sharks, but they're really diverse from their looks, their adaptations, their habitats, and how they grow, how big they grow. So, which is really, really interesting because it means there's so much to learn about these amazing animals. Great question. Thank you, guys. All right, Mrs. Ladd's class, do you have one last question for us?
Hi, I'm Sailor, and my question is, how much do sharks eat in a day?
Yeah, they eat. It kind of depends on the sharks as well. How big they are can also depend on how they eat. And whether there's food available or not.
There are some, I mean, with some of the deep sea sharks, it's really hard to find food. So something like a six-gill shark, which is a really funny looking shark with bright green eyes, lives really, really deep underwater. It's really not very much food around there, so they have to swim around for a long, long time looking for food kind of at the deep bottom of the sea. So sometimes they can go up to a year without eating. So when they do find like a carcass or a whale carcass or something deep seabed floor, they eat as much as they can so they can't move and they're so round, just like how you guys feel. Yeah.
Question. All right, thank you guys so much. All right, Mrs. Roop's class, do you have one last question for us?
They're kind of shy at the moment.
Oh, okay.
So we'll pass on our question.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you guys. And then this is Bobbitt's class. I don't know if there's, are you still with us? No, I think they signed off. All right, well, thank you guys so much. If you want to learn a little bit more about the Shark Lab, you can check out www.BiminiSharklab.com. If you're in the area, you want to visit, you can take a tour. As you get older, you guys can volunteer, come for a research experience. There's lots of ways to get involved. And if you want to see some more activities or fun things to do with sharks, check out www.Sharks4Kids.com. But thank you guys. Thank you for everyone that was watching live and for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Bye. Bye.